All right, welcome back, everyone, to Morning Line. On this Monday, we're live and direct to you, and I'm Nick Beres, along with Chad Givens. He's with us, veterinarian extraordinaire, taking your calls. Ask the Vet. Thanks for coming on, sir.
We'll try.
Always a pleasure. It's 737-7587. Any questions you may have? We got some lines open. We got some folks that waited through the break, and let's go to Colleen. Hi, Colleen.
Good morning, Colleen.
Hi. I have a question about kennel cough.
Okay.
Be done for it.
So do you have a dog that's got kennel cough?
Yeah.
So did you take him to the kennel while you were out of town or something, or did the dog pick it up just
Has to be kept in a kennel when she's in the house. It's actually my neighbor's dog, but she's disabled, so I care for her dogs for her. She does not have the money to take them to the vet. So I was wondering if there's anything I can do for this little dog. She's a Chihuahua mix. But when she's locked in the kennel, she coughs terribly.
Poor thing. Okay.
Yeah, I guess, but you're saying at the kennel at your house or actually like a boarding facility?
Yeah. At your house?
At her house, yeah.
At her house. And she doesn't have, so there's not really exposure to other animals, right?
Yeah, there's 3 dogs in the kennel.
But it's all her dogs?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that, I mean, the kennel cough, the way that works, it's a bacteria, but the bacteria kind of takes advantage of something else. So either they're boarded and all they do is bark all day, so they've got respiratory irritation to the epithelium, or
this dog does bark a lot.
Yeah, or there's like a viral component to it. The virus goes in, it irritates the respiratory mucosa, and then the bacteria is there also to take advantage. So most of your dogs won't get it, and especially if they've had it, which I don't know if this one's had vaccines for kennel cough or not, but you know, if you have it, you can still get kennel cough even if you're vaccinated for it. But in this case, it's her own dogs, not other dogs, and if these dogs don't have, you know, Bordetella, or there's not a little viral upper respiratory thing, the chance of them getting kennel cough just being in that house is probably slimmer. But if all they do is bark nonstop, if potentially, say, you can't get over there to take care of them and they're, you know, urinating or defecating in there, which, you know, I hope they're not, but if they are, that exposes them to health concerns, which then can expose them to respiratory infections. But, you know, if it's coughing nonstop, it could just be because it's barking a lot. It could be because you know, small breed dogs have weak tracheal rings. You can get tracheal collapse, which can induce it. There could be mild heart disease. So I don't, you know, I think that's a tough one for you to do as kind of a good citizen to help out. If there's not a bunch of discharge or infection, it looks like it's coming from the nose or the eyes, and you know, still eating and drinking, then it may just be a hoarse, you know, like a cat that called earlier had a weird meow. Yeah. You know, it could be like that. You know, you're sitting in there barking.
So you want to look for indication of maybe an infection, which would mean, okay, there's a bacterial issue here, a viral issue. If there's mucus or coughing up, or the eyes, if in the absence of that, because as she said, and I know there's some people that don't have the means to go to a vet just yet, even though I would imagine treatment for kennel cough, if you get it, if it's the bacterial, is an antibiotic?
Usually do an antibiotic, doxycycline, azithromycin. I mean, you can do other things.
That's the pickle here then. So aside from maybe finding a way to get the money together to maybe do a vet visit, which is really what you need to do, just monitor the animal, make sure it has the food and water it needs and is clean. And
food, water, clean. I mean, if you can get them out, exercise them, you know, that's definitely important to just give them quality of life. Yeah. You know, because I think that's a big thing. But you know, they're sitting in there barking, and they probably just want to be playing with somebody or being out. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they have kennel cough. It could happen, but it could also be something else, or it could just be the fact they're in there bored and barking.
Yeah, try different things, and that's the trick. Ultimately, really the only way to know is to take it to a veterinarian. All right, let's go to Imogene. Hi, Imogene.
Good morning.
Good morning. I wanted to ask you a question. I've heard that you should never give dogs dairy products. Is that true?
Dairy products. Like, does your dog like ice cream or something?
Yes.
I knew it. What dog? Okay, yeah. Ice cream. Probably don't want to give it chocolate ice cream, because I know chocolate's not good for dogs. But what about dairy products? I had not heard that.
I don't. I mean, yeah, It all depends on the animal. I mean, a lot of people will give medications and cheese, or they'll give cheese. Yeah. A lot of people will give their animals ice cream, cottage cheese. I mean, if an animal is having it as a treat and they're not having any adverse side effects, vomiting, diarrhea, then all it is an extra calorie. Okay. So it doesn't, some animals you could give ice cream to and they'll have blowout diarrhea in like 10 minutes.
Okay.
You know, so it depends on the animal. It doesn't sound like your animal has any issues with dairy products. So the only thing I would say is if you are giving it as a treat, you may need to cut back on other treats, or you may need to cut back on regular food just to make sure you're not going to make your animal overweight.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, thank you for that. I appreciate it. If you would, just, and I think that was a great answer. For folks, tell them what the definite, maybe there's a handful of them, off-limit foods would be for dogs that you just don't want them to get that could be harmful. But it's like, you do not feed your dog that.
Yeah, and I think that's a tough call. So
okay, well, I always heard chocolate, and is it grapes, or is it raisins, or grape?
Grapes, raisins, yeah. So the skin of the grape, and then of course raisins being dehydrated grapes,
right?
You know, are going to have a toxin in there. We understand it, but we don't totally understand everything about it. There are certain dogs that can eat grapes, never have an issue. Raisins, never have an issue. And there are certain dogs that can take a handful of them and go into acute renal failure.
Okay, wow.
We don't truly understand why it's like that, but you know, it's like that. You know, I didn't know when I was going through vet school 10 years ago. They weren't really talking about it, and I had a little Shih Tzu at that time, and he loved grapes. I was feeding him grapes all the time, and I went on my senior little trip around some of the local clinics, and this dog was seizing and dying, and I was like, what's going on with that dog? And they're like, it got into grapes, and I was like, whoa.
So you just never know.
So
you don't want to take that chance.
You don't want to take the chance for sure, because it very well could cause acute kidney failure, and if you're not on top of it, which could cause your animal to die.
Same way with chocolate, because I had a dog get into some Hershey's Kisses once, you know, and I was like, oh gosh, called the vet and everything, and they ended up okay.
Yeah, and I think chocolate's the same way. If you're getting like most of your milk chocolates, they're not too bad. They can definitely cause GI upset. Your baker's chocolate, your dark chocolate, and since we're getting like more and more concentrated dark chocolate, definitely can cause hyperactivity, can cause some heart issues, can cause some neurologic issues, just ramping the metabolism up. But the neurologic component would be the worst if they get a high dose of it. Most common thing we see is vomiting, diarrhea, GI upset. Coffee is kind of thin. It's just like high caffeine.
Yeah, you don't want to caffeinate
so it can be
your dog,
about the same. It can kind of mess with your heart, can mess with kind of your neuro component. You know, one of the big things, artificial sweeteners. There's a chemical called xylitol that can be very toxic. It can cause an acute drop in the blood sugar, and then it can lead to liver failure. So, and there's a lot more xylitol in chewing gums and just certain sugar-free formulations now.
Like that,
so you got to watch that, and then I mean, high fatty foods in some dogs, even though they're not toxic or going to cause any kind of poison issue, can cause some animals to get really sick and induce a pancreatitis,
especially with what they're used to. You know, your animal eats dog food all year long, and at Thanksgiving you see this. Oh, have some turkey, and boom, they're in the vet clinic. All right, let's go next to William. Hi, William.
Hey, my question is, I've got a golden retriever and chow mix, and when we got her, she was a stray. She's had a lot of confidence issues. We built up her confidence. We've had her for about 9 months. She's done great around the kids and everything else. But over the last couple of days, from the 4th of July, she's been real timid, and she's been backing into corners and will growl at you when you're just trying to calm her down. I was wondering if there's anything I could do or give her for this that could help her with the tension, because I don't want her to bite a member of the family for sure, or anybody else.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing. I mean, you just got to watch in those situations, and of course you're going to want to go and calm her, and that's when, if she's scared and she's backed into a corner, that's a bad situation that could happen, especially with kids, because kids don't always understand it. So, Nick and I were talking about that earlier, and I think that, one of the big things is when an animal is stressing like that, if they have a safety location they go to or they like, let them do that, but don't coddle them. Don't get all up on them and be like loving on them, because sometimes that creates worse behavior. They see that as they're getting positively reinforced for a negative behavior in this case, and they don't always necessarily know it's a negative behavior because they're scared. But you don't want to support that to where that's what they do. And then sometimes if you're just going into that corner and seems relatively calm, then just let it go into the corner and just leave it alone until it pulls through. Nick said with one of his dogs, he does a thunder shirt, and
yeah, it's amazing that it mellows them out sometimes. Yep. Look into thunder shirts. It's just a Velcro-like coating. Would you imagine that the whole idea is it's kind of like a baby in swaddling, and it gives them some type of security on a subliminal level when you wrap them up in this. They walk around it and everything. It's just like a jacket you put on them, and it Velcros on, and it does seem to give them some comfort. So if you know you're going to run into that situation, go ahead and give it a try.
It's like a security blanket. So I mean, if you're talking about fireworks and you know they're going to happen,
just put them
you
away.
can put it on. If you're thinking that thunderstorms, and we have no idea when these thunderstorms are going to hit, you know, they come on so fast here, they just have the thunder shirt on all the time during that point. And you know, that can help a lot of dogs. Some dogs it doesn't. You know, behavior training, sometimes having a trainer come in and assess the situation, make sure that everything is gone about appropriately from your all's standpoint, but then is there something that they can do for the animal also? And then talk to your vet, because there are some now herbal products. I mentioned one earlier. There's something called Rescue Remedy that is an herbal component that you can put in the food or the water that can mellow out. There are more companies now that are producing other herbal chemicals, tryptophan, like we have from Thanksgiving turkey, that can kind of calm down, and then there are anxiety medications. And the things about anxiety medications is you want to use those for the severe cases or kind of last-ditch effort. It's more training, conditioning. Then when you need it, you use those, but you do have to watch out. A scared dog that's sedated can be just as dangerous as a scared dog that's not sedated. So you do have to watch that, and that's where talking to a trainer, talking to your veterinarian.
Yeah, maybe a trainer for behavior modification. We'll take a break on that note. When we come back, a lot of you on hold. We'll get to a bunch of your phone calls right after this. Stay with us.